The spaceship landed silently in the middle of Maplewood, Ohio, at exactly 7:43 in the morning, just as 12-year-old Danny Chen was walking to school with a half-eaten granola bar in his hand. Most people would have screamed. Most people would have dropped their backpacks and sprinted in the opposite direction. But Danny had spent the last 3 years watching every alien movie ever made, reading every sci-fi novel his library carried, and building model spaceships from scratch in his garage. So when the silver, disc-shaped craft settled gently onto Mr. Henderson's front lawn, flattening his prized rose bushes, Danny simply stopped walking, tilted his head, and said, "Cool." A hatch opened, a ramp extended, and down it walked the strangest, most fascinating creature Danny had ever seen. She was roughly his height, maybe a little taller, with pale lavender skin that shimmered faintly in the morning sun. Her eyes were enormous, and completely silver, like two mirrors set into her face. She had 4 fingers on each hand, pointed ears that swept backward like a cat's, and she wore a sleek silver suit that seemed to move like liquid when she walked. She looked around at the quiet suburban street with an expression that could only be described as intense scientific curiosity. She noticed Danny immediately. He waved. She stared at his hand for 3 full seconds, then mimicked the gesture with robotic precision. "Hello?" Danny said. "I'm Danny." She opened her mouth. A stream of clicking, whistling sounds came out, completely incomprehensible. Then she reached into a small pouch on her belt, pulled out a tiny silver device, and pressed it to her temple. She winced, blinked her enormous silver eyes rapidly, and tried again. "Hello?" she said. The word came out slightly flat, like someone reading from a script, but perfectly clear. "I am Zyla, of the Vorathan Collective, 3rd Expedition, Junior Observer Class. Danny Chen," Danny said. "Of Maplewood, Ohio, 7th grade. Also Junior Observer Class, kind of." Zyla tilted her head exactly the way Danny had tilted his a moment ago. "You observe things?" "All the time," he said. "Want to see our planet?" She considered this with great seriousness. "That is precisely why I am here." Danny decided the best place to start was breakfast. His mother had already left for work, and his older sister was still asleep, so he had the kitchen entirely to himself. He sat Zyla down at the kitchen table, where she immediately began cataloging every object in sight by touching them carefully and muttering notes into her silver device. She examined the salt shaker for 4 minutes. The toaster completely baffled her. Danny pulled open the refrigerator. "Okay," he said cheerfully. "Are you hungry? Do your people eat?" "We consume energy in liquid form," Zyla said, still staring at the toaster with deep suspicion. "We mostly use solid form here," Danny said. "It's called food. Here, start simple." He held up a strawberry. Zyla looked at the strawberry. She looked at Danny. She looked at the strawberry again. "It is red," she said. "Yup. And textured. Definitely. And you consume this? You place it inside your body?" "Through my mouth." "Yeah," Danny said, pointing helpfully. Zyla's silver eyes went very wide. "Wait," she said slowly. "You're putting that inside me?" Danny blinked. "I mean, inside you if you want to try it. You don't have to." "But it is a solid object," Zyla said, with the expression of someone who had just been told to swallow a small rock. "It has texture and form, and structural integrity." "How does your body process a thing that has structural integrity?" "We have teeth," Danny explained. This led to a 10-minute conversation about teeth, which Zyla found so astonishing that she had to sit down and record an entire voice memo about it. The Vorathan, she explained, had no teeth. They had never needed them. The idea of having 32 small bone structures inside one's face, specifically designed to crush other objects, struck her as both horrifying and deeply impressive. "You are," she said at last, with great respect, "a very aggressive species." "We're really not," Danny said. "We just like pizza." After much deliberation, Zyla agreed to try the strawberry. She held it between 2 lavender fingers, brought it slowly toward her face, and paused one final time. "There is no danger?" she asked. "None," Danny promised. She took the smallest possible bite. The transformation on her face was immediate and spectacular. Her silver eyes went wide, then wider. The shimmer on her skin intensified until she was practically glowing. Her 4-fingered hand shot out and grabbed Danny's arm. "This," she whispered, "is extraordinary." "It's a strawberry," Danny said. "It is sweet," Zyla breathed, sounding as though she had just discovered the meaning of the universe. "And also, beneath the sweet, there is something else. Something sharp. Underneath the sharp, something soft. There are layers. Danny, there are layers inside this small red object. That's kind of how flavor works, yeah." Zyla stared at the remaining half of the strawberry with an expression of total awe. Then she ate the rest of it in one go, which Danny had not expected, and immediately said, "Give me another one." He gave her 3 more. She ate them all with the focused intensity of a scientist conducting the most important experiment of her career, which, Danny supposed, she was. The rest of the morning was a similar series of revelations. Scrambled eggs made Zyla deeply philosophical. "You take the potential life form," she said slowly. "Remove it from its vessel, apply thermal energy, and consume it with cheese," Danny confirmed. She ate 2 helpings. Orange juice presented a different kind of shock. This one, at least, was a liquid, which her body knew how to handle, but the coldness of it stunned her completely. Leviathan consumed everything at room temperature. Cold liquid traveling down one's throat was a sensation she had no framework for, and she sat very still for almost a minute after her first sip, processing. "Your world," she said finally, "is full of surprises." "Every single day," Danny agreed. Toast with butter made her laugh, a sound like silver bells, because she found it absurd that humans took a grain, ground it into powder, mixed it with liquid, baked it into a solid, sliced it, then applied heat again to make it crispy, then spread it with churned animal fat. "You work very hard," she said, "for your food." "You have no idea," Danny said. By mid-morning, Zyla had filled 6 voice memos about human food alone. She had also discovered that Danny's dog, Biscuit, was not a threat, but was in fact the greatest creature she had ever encountered, and she spent 20 minutes sitting on the kitchen floor letting Biscuit lick her lavender hand while she giggled that silver bell laugh over and over. "You," Zyla said to Biscuit seriously, "are perfect." Biscuit wagged his tail and sneezed on her. "Also," Zyla added, "very generous." When it was finally time for Zyla to return to her ship, she had a report to file, and her crew would be wondering where she had gone. She stood on Danny's front porch and looked at him with her enormous silver eyes. "I will tell them," she said, "about the strawberries." "Tell them about pizza too," Danny said. "Actually, maybe start with pizza." Zyla nodded gravely, as though receiving an important mission briefing. Then she did something that her translation device informed her was the correct human farewell gesture. She held out her 4-fingered hand, and Danny shook it. "Come back sometime," he said. "I will," Zyla said. "I have not yet tried this pizza of which you speak, and I have many more questions about the teeth." She walked back across Mr. Henderson's flattened rose bushes, up the ramp, and into her silver ship. It rose silently into the sky and was gone in seconds. Danny stood on the porch with his granola bar, still half-eaten, and smiled. "Best Tuesday morning ever." End.